Gemini 3 enables a higher level synthesis and context awareness, so you can build enterprise workflows that reflect how teams actually work. In this demo, I'm going to show you a Python workflow that uses Gemini 3 to extract structured metadata from a contract and then analyzes that contract against a set of internal reference files all stored in Box. It's a simple pattern, but it unlocks a lot of power. I'm Andrew, Senior Developer Advocate here at Box. Let's get started. All right, here in Box, we have an example contract, which is the Acme Corp Master Services Agreement. And for the most part, it's a pretty standard SaaS MSA. There's the multi-year term, liability cap, indemnification, data privacy language, SLAs, termination, pretty much all the stuff that legal teams may be concerned about. So this is the file that we're going to treat as the current contract under review. We're going to use the Box AI API to extract structured fields from it. So things like governing law, liability cap, payment terms, renewal notice periods. And then we're going to ask the model to assess its risk level based on our internal standards. Next, we have a folder called Contract Risk Benchmark Library. It's not just random content. It's a curated set of governance and compliance docs. So things like global M&A compliance frameworks, Securities and Exchange Commission M&A bulletins, antitrust guidelines, cross-border compliance checklists, governance considerations for financial services, and things like that. So for example, this one over here. In a real environment, these kind of documents represent the policies and guidance your legal, risk, and finance teams already use to decide what standard looks like. So in our script, we're going to pass along the Acme MSA plus this set of reference files into the Box AI Q&A endpoint, and then let the new model reason across all of them together. All right, now let's check out the code. I'm using the Box Python SDK with client credentials off, and the script does these three things. First, we authenticate. Second, we extract metadata from the contract and save it back to Box. And then third, we call the Box AI Ask API with Gemini 3 to run a multi-file analysis using our reference documents. Let's walk through it. At the very top, we import the Box SDK and set up CCG auth. And then down below that, for get Box client, we read three environment variables. We have Box client ID, Box client secret, and Box enterprise ID. All of these build the CCG config, and we return a Box client. So once this runs, everything else in the script uses the same authenticated client. So metadata, AI extraction, and AI Q&A all go through the Box APIs. All right, next up, we have the extract and tag metadata function down over here. And all it does is take in a file ID and uses client.ai.createAI_extract structured with a template key. So in this case, I'm using agreements, which I created ahead of time. Now, behind the scenes, what it's doing is configuring an AI agent that uses a new model for long text reasoning. Then it's going to send the contract into the extract structured endpoint. And then what we get back is a typed answer payload. So after this runs, the Acme MSA has fields like effective date, expiration date, governing law, liability cap, all those kind of things. And that's all extracted automatically by this model. All right, from there, the script switches to multi-file Q&A. So down over here for this function, ask Box AI, this function is going to take in a list of file IDs and a prompt. Then it's going to create an AI agent ask configuration, and then uses a new model for both long text and multi-document reasoning. It's going to then wrap each file ID in an AI item ask, and then call client.ai.createAI_ask. So basically, if there's one file, it's going to use single item QA. And if we have multiple files, it's going to automatically switch to multiple item Q&A, which tells Box AI to reason across all of them together. So before moving forward, let's check out this default prompt that we had up above. This default prompt is specially tuned for this workflow. Basically, we're going to ask the model to assess the current contract's risk level, low, medium, or high, and then focus on things like financial exposure, liability, indemnification, data protection, SLAs, termination rights, all using the reference documents as a standard. Okay, so finally down at the very bottom, we have our main function right over here. And for the most part, it's just a CLI. So when the user runs a script, they're going to enter the contract's file ID. And if they press enter after that, what we're going to use is this default set of reference files right over here, as well as a default prompt. So with almost no input, the script's going to handle the extraction and multi-file analysis for you. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about it for now. We're going to see all this in action in just a sec. So now that we have everything in place, let's go ahead and run the script. Let's first open up a terminal. We'll run the file. I'll paste in the file ID for the Acme contract. We'll hit enter. We're going to hit enter again to use the default reference set. Then we're going to hit enter yet again to use the default prompt. All right, looks like it's done. Let's go all the way to the top and check out all the individual steps in action. So we can see the extraction step first right over here. The script prints out the structured fields it pulled from the MSA. So you can see things like the effective date, expiration date, governing laws California, and the 99% uptime commitment. Next, it saves that data back to Box as metadata. And to double check, let's check out how it looks like in Box. So double checking over here in the metadata tab on the right. So far, so good. Now heading back into Cursor, it calls a Box AI Ask endpoint with a contract plus those 9 reference documents, and the new model returns a risk assessment. So over here we see the raw JSON response. And then below that, we have a more formatted response. The model flags the contract as high risk and calls out a few things that you might want to consider. So we have our critical risk areas. And then below that, we have a few notes on recommended next steps. All of that is derived by reading the contract in context and comparing it against our own reference materials, governance docs, compliance frameworks, and audit checklists, all stored in Box. What we just saw is how Gemini 3 lets Box AI work the way that real teams do, pulling together long contracts, internal standards, and compliance materials all directly from your content in Box. As a developer, the big advantage is that nothing about the API changes. You're using the same extract and ask endpoints, but now you have a model that handles deeper reasoning, more context, and stronger synthesis. This means that you can build workflows that go beyond summaries and actually support decisions. So things like contract reviews, governance checks, internal policy comparisons, and many more. This pattern generalizes to any domain where your organization already has expertise captured in documents. Just point Gemini 3 at that content, and your applications gain that context instantly. For more on how to build intelligent, content-aware workflows with Box AI, check out our documentation. I'm Andrew, Senior Developer Advocate here at Box. See you next time.